All right. We are back. The DJs Are Not Jukeboxes podcast. This is official first one for the year, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Welcoming in 2019. We got the whole squad here, gang. My name is Sen, Mr. Beard Butter. Let's go around the room real quick. Introduce ourselves.
Big ones. DJ True.
Artist, a.k.a. Little Joke Box.
Hey. Shout out to DJs not being joke boxes, you know what I'm saying? And we have a very special guest, super homie, family, actually a neighbor to the shoebox as well.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You know what I'm saying?
Never met you, did my life. First time.
Don't deny it, man. Don't deny the block, bro.
It's true.
Don't deny the block, but we want to welcome in special guest Slot A to the Shoebox DJs Are Not Jukeboxes podcast. Make some noise, y'all. Make some noise, yeah.
Clappy clap.
Hey, all the claps, all the slaps, man. Welcome.
Thank you.
And it's good to finally have you in. You know what I'm saying? You've been traveling around doing your thing. We've been upgrading our system to, have someone that, is big on sound quality with, good quality for him. So, I mean, crystal. But we're excited to have you and talk to you today, man. We've been friends for a long time now.
Yeah. So are you proposing right now? Is this what's going on right now?
Yeah, pretty much. I had to get up off the couch, sit at the edge of the cushion. But I mean, the whole, the live your truth concept came from conversations between you and I. Mm-hmm. I asked for your blessing with that before we even did anything with that. So this is dope for me to finally have you in and make this completely full circle. Just a quick, background. I mean, you've been doing this for how long now? The music thing in general.
Technically 16 years.
16 years. And you started as a producer?
I started as a producer when I was 16 years old. So I guess to kind of explain it, I grew up in Ann Arbor, Michigan. When I was 7, going on 8, my pops passed.
Okay. And
one of the things that I kind of learned later in life that you don't necessarily think of is that, like, those formative stages between, 1 and 12 kind of develop you into how you're going to behave later on down the line, because that's kind of like where you get your training to be likable or to be in the presence of other people. And around that time, I had really, 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 from about maybe after my dad passed to about, I want to say 16, I had really crazy anger issues.
So it was a good 10-year span?
Yeah, I would either joke too much or I would get really upset. Quick. Gotcha. And so I didn't necessarily know how to process it. And so my mother tried to throw me in sports. Sports weren't really for me. Played football for a while. And then one day, it's like 8th grade, my mother put me into, she was like, yo, you're going to go to this alternative school. It's actually really dope. But none of your friends are going to be there. And I was like, what? Yeah. You're tripping.
Scratch that.
Not going. And it was community high school. And what was dope about community high school was once you become 16, you're essentially able to dual enroll at a community college. The community college I chose was Washtenaw Community College. There was a gentleman there by the name of Mikkel White. Now, I had been using Fruity Loops for maybe a year or two. We had been going back and forth, battling. Me and my friends would go, our campus was a loose campus, so you would eat off campus. So essentially that meant we would go to the homie's house and go make beats.
Gotcha.
And essentially have beat contests. Okay, cool. You got these 5 sounds.
What can you do?
What can you do within XYZ number of time? And then, you get your repetitions in like that. And so at 16, though, I met this gentleman by the name of Mikkel White. Mikkel White was teaching a class about MIDI. And so he would have people bring in either MPCs, Korg Elect Tribes, motifs. I had my computer, so I wasn't able to, but what was dope about the class is that he would allow everybody to use each other's things. He would create this space for it where everybody felt comfortable.
Right.
And he kind of was one of my first mentors.
Okay.
That got me into music, that let me kind of know, this is something that you could actually do this is something that you could dedicate yourself to. And I didn't necessarily have that. Like, I feel like when, I don't know, like, maybe my homies don't see it yet, or they didn't see it at the time, but I feel like when you have your father around, you kind of get like a guide to see, like, all right, this is how a man behaves. This is how a man processes things. This is how a man gets upset. This is also how a man survives and provides for his family. Like, you kind of learn your purpose.
Right.
And so through this gentleman, I learned my purpose was, okay, cool. This is another way that you can go about providing for yourself. And so what he would have us do is, like, he would have me come by the house and it was like, hey, do you rap? I was like, no, I don't really. I mean, we freestyle at lunch. He was like, all right, cool. Just write it down. We're going to come up with jingles together. And those jingles kind of got me into the process of understanding how to write a song, what 16 bars was, how to make something commercially viable for somebody else for the purpose of of pitching a song.
Right.
And so this gentleman who didn't really know me from Adam really took a lot of interest into me and was kind of like the beginning of everything. And so when it came time, or like at the same time around that time as well, I don't know how everybody else's high school was, but they would sit you down. Cool, you're about to go from your junior to your senior year. The training is over. The training wheels are off. What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
And at that time I didn't know, but I knew, like, all right, cool. Like, I love my mother, I love my brother, but it's dysfunctional back at the crib. There's a lot going on. I don't want to be there. But I also know, living in like Ypsilanti, Ann Arbor, Michigan area, you have the university, you have Detroit, you have Eastern Michigan University, you have Ford Motor Company, you have maybe surrounding plants. So what ends up happening is what I ended up seeing a lot earlier, particularly for like maybe girls who got pregnant early, or people just, they follow into cycles. So it's like, all right, cool. I'm 18. Either I'm going to go to the military, I'm going to go work at Ford. Or if I did well enough in school, I'm a boogie and I'm going to go to one of the colleges that's nearby, or I'm going to leave. And for me, once I found out about Columbia College here, I was like, oh, word, that's my out. I'm gone. I thought Kanye was here. I didn't pay attention to the whole point where he said he was in New Jersey and New York.
I got you. Okay, so is it safe to say that this gentleman was kind of like the starting point for the whole music side for you? Okay.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, just to clarify.
Yeah, totally. Like, I was already started. He kind of...
You mentioned like having that father figure sets that vision for you. I mean, this seems like that almost did...
No, that was totally...
Yeah, okay, cool.
I learned that later on, though. Like, I've realized it later on.
For sure. I mean, which is natural in life, but I mean, for conversation and timeline... Facts. For sure.
Yeah, like, you learn that from, like, coaches and stuff like that, but, like, dog, you're a teacher here. You just happen to coach. It's not like you're coaching only and then you leave out. And so, like, the intention's different and the behavior's different. So... how you receive it is different as well. It's like, all right, cool. This ain't all really you do. Like, you teach algebra, dog. Like,
right. So
it's no shot, but it's
no.
You know what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying.
You don't really. You may learn life skills from sports,
right?
But when you actually are able to see, okay, cool. This guy goes and he makes the pitch. Cool. He also DJ'd at the time. Cool. How did he get into different spaces? And so that was kind of like how I got started before I came here.
Got you. So you mentioned Columbia College.
Yeah.
Was that kind of that like turning point moment for you, that, or like what was the moment where you're like, okay, this is where I'm going to start dedicating myself to this fully?
It was when I quit football.
Okay.
It was like junior year
of high school.
Of high school.
Okay.
I quit football, particularly once I realized that like Columbia was an option.
Okay.
But here's the issue. When I was in high school, during times where I was playing sports, like my grades were fine. When I wasn't, whatever. It's all good. Like I'll get to it.
So
whenever.
The grades were there for the
for the year, so I was eligible. You know what I'm saying?
Understood.
So like I had to figure out, cool, how do I do the rest of these like this year and a half to
get to this
to
next
get
piece.
to Columbia.
Okay.
All right, cool.
So you
Now-
found that football basically
I found that football for
I
me.
got you.
And so I would spend hella time in the basement. My mother thought it was some weird stuff going on down there. But
Hella introverted and
yeah, like
Super
you're talking
low
about
amount
somebody
of
who used to
friends
go
and
out
shit.
all the time. Like me and the homies used to go hop in the van and go party or whatever, go kick it on Eastern Michigan University, or University of Michigan campus, and to just being in the house.
So real quick, you were born and raised.
Ypsilanti, Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, yeah. Let's
Then I made
make
my
that
way.
very clear.
Yeah, facts.
because a lot of people out here, sometimes wonder why you represent Detroit as heavy as you do.
Yeah.
And Michigan just as a whole as much as you do.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's no Y or
no, but
the Michigan colors aren't that type, so you just go with the D. And It just kind of embodies the whole state.
Yep. And it's funny. You mentioned that kind of like catalyst for you to want to finish out the high school year a certain way for yourself. I think that a lot of us can kind of relate to that. I hated school, but
Same.
I was good. I was really good at like the testing and like all of that. And just never did my homework, and I was terrible. And shout out to my dad. He didn't let it slide, but understood kind of where I was coming from.
Yeah.
Because it kind of bored me, essentially. I don't know. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but
School is boring as hell.
the system itself was just that. So, okay, so that moment for you, Columbia. Now let's talk a little bit about that.
I get to Columbia, and actually before I got to Columbia, there was a dude named Vanish.
Okay.
Vanish was a producer out here. He had produced for Bump J. Actually, he would go on to produce for Bump J and maybe a couple other people. I met him in a class that my homegirl was sitting in on, and she allowed me to come here for a college visit just to see the campus. And I met Vanish. We were talking over AIM. Like, yo, we became buddies.
Shout out
Like,
to
yo,
AIM.
yeah, right. And so he's like, yo, I'm gonna send you these drums from this. I think it's called Hip Hop Underground or Underground Hip Hop. They did like a yearly. It was a forum for people who don't know. It still is a forum, but they essentially yearly would do like drum packs. Like, here, these are my drums. This is my drums from this machine. Do whatever you do. And so he sent me that, and I was like, all right, bet. I gotta go to Columbia now. So when I finally got here, when I finally got here, I started getting into beat battles. I started going to beat battles. I was 18, so I wasn't able to get into everything. But like, one of the homies sneaks you into Sonatech,
Yeah. Shout out to
for like the beat battle or
Yes.
Divine or whatever. And then from there, man, I learned more about, like, I became an artist, and then I also learned how to pitch to artists. That was kind of a big thing. At that time, like, some of my beats were either really basic or really ambitious in terms of sound, in terms of what like rappers would gravitate to.
Okay.
And so what I would do was I'll write the hook first. I was reading Scratch Magazine heavy.
Shout out to Scratch Magazine,
Yeah.
man. I still got a couple copies of that in the back.
I got everything.
You got them all?
I got them all.
Damn.
Shout out to
Hate it.
Pokemon.
Yeah. Yes.
I went through the magazine, and Swiss Beats was talking about how you would pitch records. So like, all right, cool. I have this beat. I would do the hook, and then I would pitch it to the artist that way. That way, only thing they had to do was fill in the color. Like I would give you the stencil, fill in the color, and explain it. Done. And so that's where I learned that at. So
That's dope.
So that's more like producing versus beat making. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Composing.
Like
Well,
you're
I had to-
thinking of the artist ahead of time.
Yeah.
usually? Yeah.
like I had to, because I knew my beats were a little weird. I knew if I just played it for somebody, they weren't going to get it.
Right.
But if I gave them like a whole pitch,
Right.
like, oh, yo, I got this hook. I thought of you,
Right.
which was essentially sales.
Yeah.
I mean, you're giving them pretty much majority of the idea.
Yeah.
They just have to come in and put their flavor on it. Essentially.
Facts.
Yeah.
And then I met artists like Doughboy, Trendsetters, 085 was really popping. This is when I kind of knew of the street politics of Chicago, but I didn't necessarily know the locations.
Okay.
So this is when I got really super familiar with Chicago.
Yeah, let's talk about that transition a little more.
One, there are already people who lived, like who were commuting from all over the city to go to Columbia. And so what's dope about that is you get a chance to really know what's popping in Chicago. On the other side of that, you also get a chance to know how gang affiliated Chicago is as well.
Gang.
And a lot of the guys I met at the time, like the homie Doe or Jamel, a lot of guys who were really pivotal. We used to go, and this was like when Bump J was killing, like 04, 05
Shout out to Larry.
vibes. We'd go to Trendsetters 085. Had a studio next to Mike Dunn.
Okay.
It was like right on like Lake, I want to say like Ashland or something like that. And then we would go over there, but it was a whole bunch of gang members, and I didn't realize like how politics work.
Okay.
So saying things like folks or like like from back home, like my brother was affiliated, but I didn't really understand how. Like it's something that you could choose to do. Like you could go like play football. Like you could go choose the gangbang. There's people there for that. But here it's like, oh, word on, this is culture. This is life. And so I met this artist by the name of Spree Israel.
Shout out to Spree.
He was signed to Trendsetters 085. It just did a record with Bump J.
Yep.
He was gonna be one of those next guys to come out. And I was like, yo, I want to go work with him. So I would come up with these beat CDs. Like I mind you, I got the dorm. I'm coming in there with beat CDs.
And
like
how long have you been making music at this point? 2 years, 3 years?
About 3.
Okay.
Going on 3.
Okay.
And go over there. And he was like, yo, come by the shop. I'm like, oh, it's a barber shop. It's gonna be a professional establishment. Not gonna run into anything too crazy. And he's like, yeah, it's on 79th and May.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, all right, well, I'll figure it out. Hopped on the red line. took the 79th bus.
Yeah.
And as soon as I walked in, first person tried to piece me up, and I was like, oh no, I'm not about that, brother. But I was like, oh, okay, what's up? And then the rest of the room was like, what you mean? And I was like, oh yeah, I'm here for Spree. And had I not like gone into that, it could have got really ugly.
Yeah. It gone left.
Yeah, it could have gone real left. He was like, oh yeah, okay. Yeah, I make beats, man. I go to Columbia. Oh, okay, cool. Go straight to the back. Yeah. He's in the back. Go holler at him.
That shit is classic.
And so I go into the back of the shop and like I'm seeing like some
shops.
Yeah. I'm seeing somebody professional, like in my head professionally right. I'd always been around rappers, either if they were battle rappers or whatever the case may be, but like somebody who could take an idea and turn it into a full song within like maybe 20, 30 minutes. That was different for me.
Right.
I would normally have to write the hook, give them the beat, have them go home and write. And so that was another person that was like, oh, okay, cool. That's my experience in Chicago. I was working with Bullet, aka Mr. Robotic now. And through Bullet, I met Ad2.
Shout out to Ads, man.
Shout out to Ad2.
That's Drake.
Yeah, man.
We met 3 separate occasions at Kevin Shine's. I'm not sure if you guys, are you familiar with Kevin Shine at all from the Soul Selectors? Soul Selector DJs?
I know of the Soul Selectors, but...
Word. All right, well, Kevin Shine used to put on these industry events in Chicago where he would bring in like people like Polo to Don to have conversations with people and play music. And he would also spotlight people like White Boy or Thieve stuff like that at the time. People who were like popping in Chicago, Big Wiz. Why am I blanking on his name? But anyway, we would go to these events, and you end up passing out CDs. Like, yo, I got beats. Check them out. Holler at me. You write a marker on CD, and Ad had given me a CD before, and when I got home, I wasn't listening to nobody.
Right.
I want you to buy these beats on this CD.
Right.
I was just super, what I call like goldfish minded. Like, you go in one direction, you end up going back another direction. You're not necessarily thinking about the long game. And so he gave me a CD. I pitched it. I met him again through my homie Mark. We were talking. I got this horrible spiel. Like, yo, I'm different from other beat makers. Like, I don't sell people like, I don't just sell people beats. You know what I'm saying? I sell people careers.
Yes.
He's, you know what I'm saying? Like, I had a horrible pitch, and like, he looked at me crazy. He was like, "Oh, word? You selling careers? All right." And then the third time, I had finally dropped out of Columbia. It's like maybe a year later. I moved into like these really expensive apartments that I couldn't afford. And my homie from New York was supposed to be moving in with me. Never came. But he would throw me bread so I could like keep the house up.
That's dope.
It was short-lived. It wasn't that dope when I had to dip.
Got you.
But Bullet was like, yo, I got people who want to buy beats. Let's go. So you can, you know what I'm saying, keep staying here so we can keep the studio going. And he's like, yo, I'm going to call my boy Ad. I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. Ad comes through. My homegirl at the time was over at the crib. And we just had like a bonding session. And literally like became my he's my brother, like regardless of relationship, but like that's my brother right there. Right. So I had a lot of firsts with him. First time going out of town for music. First time really getting a placement on an album that was brought up in press. Like Hip Hop DX's, All Hip Hops, Two Dope Boys, things of that nature. Like that was like my first placements on those websites. Fake Shore Drive, Ruby Hornet, and I learned a lot from that particular time. But from that time though, I also learned like, yo, as much as you're investing in other people, like there's a bunch of scenes all around the country.
Okay.
That you should probably tap into, but for you. Like not looking out for the homie, not doing whatever, but like for you.
Right.
And so it was Bullet. Me and Bullet had like we were working really closely together. We started getting placements on TV, and our business just went really bad between me and him. Still friends to this day, but our relationship went awry. And that year, two things happened that were very, very, very pivotal in me changing how I saw myself, and also saw how I wanted to move differently. And one was I saw 14 KT and Mayor Hawthorne at the Dark Room. I was supposed to help
Put on that show.
Yeah, like
Pat and I put on that show.
he sent me
Dope.
posters.
No shit, yeah.
So my free entry
There it is.
was if I wanted to put up posters around Columbia. Never did, but I got the posters. But I got it free. Hey, shout out to the squad. But yeah, it was Jamal Buffer, 14 KT, and Mayor Hawthorne over at Dark Room. And yeah. Shout out to the condos as it became. But I saw, like, I've known KT for a long time. He grew up in the same city I grew up in. Okay. And so he was in high school around the same time my brother was in high school, but they had Athletic Mike League and they were killing. Like, they were doing really, really well. And so years...
He produced for them?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
14 KT was actually one of the rappers in the group, along with Haircut, also known as Mayor Hawthorne. So like it was him, Jamal Bufford, 9 Lives, who would later become like Now On before Mayor Hawthorne finally dipped off and did his own thing. But me and like KT like kind of, well, I'm leaving out a major part, but me and KT essentially we met, and then like I saw him, I was like, yo, like, he's spinning his own beats, like it's peak hour. I want to do that. Yeah. I wanted to do that for me though. Right. And then I had the idea. My homie gave me a turntable to sample with. It was like a Gemini, like 500 XL, something like a, what do you call it?
Belt drive table?
Yeah, the belt drives. Yep. And so, right? And so I was trying to learn how to scratch on that. And
learning how to scratch on the belt drive. It's tough.
Been there.
And then later that summer, it was the first North Coast, and I had a placement on 2 Dope Boys. I was looking to see who else was on there, and I see this record by Erykah Badu produced by Flying Lotus, and I was like, "Yo, this record is crazy. This beat's nuts. Like, I've never heard anything like this. Like, it kind of reminded me of like some donuts, like but like Future donuts." And I was like, this is nuts. And so when North Coast happened, he was on the bill. And I was like, oh, word? Like, I'm definitely going. LAX had just came out. I was like, all right, cool. I listened to it. Excuse me. Listened to it. And then we go, me and my wife, girlfriend at the time, go. And I'm looking at it. I'm like, he's on, like, because mind you, there's a couple stages, but there's really 2 primary stages at North Coast. There's the one that's like, they're like the one that De La Soul was on. Gotcha. That was a really big stage, and then there was the one that Nas and Damian Marley were on. Okay. That was the one that Flying Lotus rocked on. Gotcha. And I'm sitting there, and like, my wife had just went to go grab food. We were getting ready to walk back, and like, we were getting ready to go see De La, but like, yo, why is everybody in front of this stage? Who is this dude? And the more we walk into the group, or the more we walk into it, and we see him, like, Flying Lotus is black. This is fire. Yeah. And because like the music, because like he had like a lot of house vibes that he was playing, like a lot of like down tempo stuff. Before like the down tempo, like 110 BPM kind of became cool. And I was like, yo, I gotta figure out how to do this. I gotta figure out what this is. Yeah. And so on the screen they would show him like little bits, you know, it would move around, show you the crowd or whatever, but I'll be looking at a setup like, oh, where he got an MPD 32 up there. He has what's this big block thing? I ended up finding out that's like an APC 40 or something on those lines. Right. And I'll be like, oh, word, that's what I need. Yep. Had a conversation. So I was like, but like, I feel like that's limiting because there's not really a beat scene here because I'm not familiar with the cats who are in the beat scene. I know the cats who are doing like Red Bull Big Tune beat battles at the time, but I don't know anybody who's like going at it. Right. So I was like, man, maybe I need to learn how to DJ. And so I spent maybe like a year and a half. Like I was working at a place called Intermix. My homie I was like a stock manager, and my homie Jerron, who had just started working there, me and him got really cool. He was a musician as well, and he had gotten into DJing. And I was like, word, like I want to come hang out in the booth. Is that cool? And so I hung out with him in the booth, and I would go to like Funky Buddha and go sit in DJ Word's booth, or I would try to get as close as I could to Timbuktu's booth without being annoying. Yeah. Another big one for me too is Jay Illa.
Yeah.
Jay Illa kind of gave me the most access out of everybody outside of Jerron, where cool, I can sit in a booth, I can ask some questions. He's like, yo, how? And that's kind of how I got familiar with hot mixing and like a bunch of different things that like DJ Angelo isn't gonna tell you.
Got you. I got you.
You know what I'm saying? Like he'll probably
Right,
break down
right.
hot mixing, but like
Right, no, I got you,
he
I got
doesn't
you.
understand. Like he'll never say, "Hey, check this out."
Right.
At one point or another, you're gonna want to get the energy up in the room. If you can figure out how to properly blend and or slam these records together, you can bring the energy up to a feverish peak, and then you can bring them back down.
Yeah.
So I learned that through watching Jay Illa, and I learned that through watching Timbuktu. And so I was like, okay, cool. Well, I want to do that. And then I was watching hella YouTube videos. I'm watching DJ Angelo. I'm watching J-Rock sets from the Beat Junkies. I'm watching, who else? Watching Jazzy Jeff. I'm watching DJ Cash Money. And I was like, yo, I got to figure out what they're doing. There's this video of J-Rock doing this really crazy, like, kind of blend. Yeah, like trick mixing.
Yeah.
But in this particular case, it's different. Like, it's not just going between, like, it's not doing, like, the pages.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I have a looping vocal. I'm going to play drums over it, and I'm going to play a beat that's going to blend with it perfectly. And I'm going to play with the people in the room. And I was sitting there, I was like, yo, what is this? Like, he's going in and out of this so effortlessly. Obviously, it's J-Rock. But still.
Right.
And so from there, I was like, all right, cool. I know what I want to do. This is why like this place holds real significance to me. Sub T has a pawn shop next door to it.
Yes.
Cash America.
Yes.
Right there on North Avenue.
Yes.
I was like, yo, I think it was at the time they had just put out the letter that the 12s were no longer going to be made. It was going to be a wrap. I was like, oh man, I gotta figure out how to get my hands on these. I can't pay the OG price. Like, so I drove around Chicago's North Side to every pawn shop, trying to see if I can come up on 12s at a decent price. I went all the way up to like Howard, all the way back down, and like I'm at my wit's end. I'm like, yo, I gotta get these turntables, bro. I was like, it was the last store that I was gonna go into. And I almost skipped it because I was depressed. I was like, damn, I'm not gonna get them. I walk in there and they have two Technic 1200 M3Ds going for $129 a piece.
What? Get out of here.
I left out of there paying
Sick.
$220.
Damn.
Shout out to that spot. I got
Sucks.
2K last year when we went shopping there
Yeah.
for like $9. So
Facts.
shout out to that spot. Yeah, I picked up 2K for like $9 from them used.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we went. We had a whole thrift day. He called me last year, and the Bulls jacket.
Facts.
Shout out to the starter joint. Yeah,
Starter joint's crazy.
starter joint was the 73 joint.
$220 for a pair.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Wow,
crazy.
that's insane.
Yeah. So go ahead. I was gonna say. So I mean, we covered pretty much the root of how you got started.
Yeah.
We've made our way into the growth side. So I want to touch a little bit more on that aspect before we get into your current state. Within everything that you've talked about already and mentioned, like, talk a little bit about the successes and the obstacles and just how you envisioned it versus how it panned out. You know what I mean? Go ahead.
Yeah, this because the story you're telling, it's obviously the path that worked out.
Right.
But
Yeah.
along the way, there was
The
probably
struggles,
little
man.
offshoots that
No,
you
so
know,
Yeah.
so there's a big piece of the story that I did
sure.
leave out. When I dipped out of school, I moved to New York for 6 months. My homie who was supposed to live with me was like, yo, I owe you bread. Just come live out here in New York with us. We have like this, we live in the projects out there. It's like $370 a month You don't have to pay anything for a while. Just stay. I was like, all right, cool. Well, I packed my bags up. I've taken my equipment with me. I put it in suitcases. I sent everything out UPS. It gets there. And I'm living in New York. I'm like, wow, I'm living in Brooklyn. I'm living in Guanas Projects in Brooklyn. And I have to figure out what to do with my time while I'm there. I just can't sit around. And so I met the little brother. His name is Shane Augustus. Shane Augustus is the little brother of a dude who used to shoot for Scratch Magazine. I met him out there, so we would go studio to studio, messing with cats like Dangerous LLC, who produced for like 50 Cent, going to Wyclef studio, going to like a bunch of different studios.
Yes.
And then I also met a dude who worked at Sterling Audio, which is Sterling Sound, which is a mastering plant. His name was Toomba Be Cool. So me, my roommate, we would all go out to Trenton, New Jersey, and go work. We just go work on music or whatever the case may be. And then one day I get back to we get back to the apartment. There's an eviction notice on the door. This is like 6 months in.
Shit.
So dude still owes me money. I'm like, I haven't set up a job. I had an internship I just got fired from.
Damn.
It sent me back to Michigan with my tail between my legs. And I was like, damn, like, it didn't work in New York. So I moved back to Michigan. I'm living in my mother's crib again. We're in the basement. This is right before like 07, 08, before that collapse happened. My mother's house later ended up getting foreclosed on. But I'm in her basement and I'm making beats. She's trying to urge me to go get a job. Like, nah, I'm good. I'm just gonna go make a couple dollars off these beats, and then I'm gonna go back to Chicago. I'm gonna stay out there for a little bit, and I'm gonna couch surf. Cause that's what I was doing.
This was before Columbia, then?
This is after Columbia. And so after I got evicted from New York, I moved back home with my mother. I'm making beats in the basement. I shoot back to Chicago, and things just aren't going well. Like, in the slightest. Like, the relationships aren't necessarily working out how they said they were. Finances are crazy. I get back home. My Uncle David, who was really like a big source of, like, he would throw me like $300-$400 to come out to Chicago because he believed in me. He passes. And so I'm like, yo, this is crazy. I don't know what I'm gonna do. And then that's when I ended up getting a job. Like, I had to work in some really trash jobs. I tried to work at UPS. We went for the orientation at 6 a.m. when it snowed. Fuck out of here. I went to that orientation, never came back. I'm on Craigslist applying for jobs, sending out, and that's how I ended up getting a stock job. But like, while all this is going on, I'm having fallouts with artists. We're getting opportunities, but I'm getting stiffed. So like, the placement on VH1 would happen, right? And me and my dude would agree, like, yo, cool, we'll break it up 60-40. You pay for the studio time. I made the beat and the hook. Cool. When it came time for, like, okay, it's 10 bands. 60-40, just throw me 4, like, so I can keep going with what I got going. Me and him ended up having a fallout over that. Yo, I'm not doing any more music with you, bro. I'm good. I started DJing, and I'm learning that, like, it isn't necessarily what I thought it was. But I also found out it was something deeper than what I thought it was as well. On the root level, I thought, like, yo, if I become a DJ, I can kind of, one, play my music for the crowd, but I can also kind of learn how to better, like, learn how to make my beats better by DJing.
Yeah.
Like, okay, cool. Like, these two things help each other out, but the big piece of that is that, like, on a surface level of DJing, you are someone who is playing on the behalf of the people. You're playing on behalf of the people. You're not necessarily, unless you have it in your spirit to control the room, you're not controlling shit. And I had to learn that. And I learned the malevolence of like how people really are. The manipulation that kind of goes into it. The having to find your way into a lot of different things. And like, at first I was like, yeah, I don't even know if this is sustainable for me. Like, and then I kept meeting good people over time. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like, it's not totally like a malevolent thing. Like, people aren't necessarily like, yeah, play for experience. Play for exposure.
Right, yeah.
Hell yeah, coming up.
Yeah, like, we would, you know what I'm saying? I'm not going to out who the person is, but we would throw parties or whatever the case may be. And be me and the dude she was dating at the time. We'd be playing. And I was like, that was my homegirl. I was like, oh, word, like, this is nothing. Like, we just break everything down 50-50 or whatever the case may be, and we'll be good. A slide. We're a little
You got the A, cuz.
Fam.
You got the super A, cuz.
Yeah, it's not even A, cuz. A fam.
A fam.
You're really, so, like, oh, but I made something at the bar. Yeah, but I got to pay off this.
Basically turned into a meme.
Yeah, facts. And so I learned about that. I learned.
So you're learning about
I'm learning about like
the shady business side of music. That's that's the other path that you saw.
That's totally the other path that I saw. And then, and so what was interesting, like, I guess in terms of the move that I made or how I interpreted it, was like, okay, cool. I can't go through anybody else. That shit's dead.
Yeah.
You could try to get in with the homie, but essentially, if it's not yours, you have limited space in that particular room.
Yep.
Everything is revolving around space. Space equals respect in my mind. What you do with that particular space will let you know how long that relationship will work. And so I was getting gigs through the homies, and they had to do for them because they were surviving off of this. And I didn't quite understand it. Like, yo, man, why am I not on every week? This is that and the third. And it's like, no, dog, like, yo, they're paying him $300, bro, to spend here for 4 to 6 hours. He has to pay some type of bill. What if this is his only gig this week? You trying to get $100, $150 out of the man, like,
right.
That shit don't. So you're already fighting for scraps.
Yeah.
Scraps of scraps.
Yeah, scraps of scraps of scraps. So like, they're not really giving you a percentage of the bar. They give you a flat fee, which in most cases work. Like, flat fee on a Sunday, fire.
Yeah.
Flat fee on a Friday or Saturday,
Never.
ass-ticular. Like, just completely ass. It is ass.
Ass-ticular, y'all.
But these are things that I'm learning as I'm going through everything. So, like, I'm learning that, like, all right, cool. I can't get mad at this man because I'm asking a percentage of a percentage of a percentage. This is money that he doesn't necessarily have, but he's depending on. Also kind of learned, like, just because you are the homie doesn't mean that homie privileges aren't really a thing. They're not sustainable, I guess. And as much as I think it hurt at the time when I learned it, it was a great lesson. It was like, yo, why are you looking for homie privileges and you could just have the privilege of being the guy?
I mean, you raised an important point, man, because like it gets to a certain point that like I mean I've been put on by a lot of homies too, and I'm grateful for that. But yeah, man, truly like it is what you make it of your own in the long run because you can't rely on homies. You got your own person, you know.
Yeah, I mean, like it's even said in Farside, like on the Farside running record, like there comes a time in every man's life where he has to handle shit up on his own. Like,
Yep.
no time to help. I forgot the rest of my friends. If have you in a squeeze, please, they got shit on their own.
Yep.
And so I learned that. But every time it was like some heartbreaking shit every time I learned it. Like, I'll keep it a bucky. I got signed to Ninth Wonder. I saw that experience going totally different. I didn't realize he was fighting every percentage, and not necessarily in terms of finance, in terms of being allowed in the room. That's really what that's really what you're fighting for at the end of the day.
Space.
It's the space, but also the privilege of the space. So if he's new to a certain situation and it's him, it's not like me and him are 50-50 partners on everything. That's obviously going to be like, yo, I got to get in this room first and I have to fend for self so I can bring you into it. At the time, I didn't understand it. Like, yo, fam, like, why am I... Like, in the back of my head, I would never say this to him. At the time, we've obviously had the conversation, but at the time, I'm not thinking like, yo, like, bro, you just received a major privilege to be in that room. Go kill it in that room. Go be great. Go make whatever you want happen. I'll be here working on whatever I got going on. Yeah. My mind state was like, damn, why am I not in the room with him? And you end up learning over time is that like, I think Snoop and A$AP Rocky had this conversation was that like, yo, what ends up happening as you and another man have success is that you separate. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. It just means that though he may be up, it's up to you to get up to him or to exceed him so you guys can work in that same space.
Yeah, you're ultimately on your own.
Yeah.
So this is my point earlier. Like, you know, you get to a point, you see other people's successes and you might feel some type of way, but yeah, I mean, ultimately you're going to have to push yourself in order to...
Totally.
You either stage jealous or you build towards where they're going, basically.
Yeah, and I didn't understand that at that time because I didn't understand how blessings worked.
And
like there's something that like I don't know, it's like pretty much every religious text or at least there's a statement that says it was written. And if you really take that in the concept, like, yo, what's for you is for you. It is written in stone for you. So if you get fucking kidney stones, that's for you. If you get a Grammy, that's also for you. Like whatever you get is negative. It's neither negative nor positive. It's just what you have. It's what you've accumulated. And so once I got the understanding of that, and I was like, maybe in the last like 5 years, 5-6 years, kind of figuring that out. Like, oh no, like, listen, from 1 to 18, you're getting training on how to deal with people. From about 18 on, you're learning how to be self-sufficient and on your own.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, is you've had it with friends. Somebody comes to stay over, and it turns into them living with you. And so they start taking certain privileges, and eventually you got to kick them out.
Yeah.
It's because of a space thing.
Yeah.
I live with a good friend of mine, Sherrod, who was my connection to Jamila Woods, who I also met 3 times, didn't necessarily connect, and on the 3rd time we clicked.
Which we'll talk about. Yep.
One of the things he talks about in the Islamic faith is that they say peace is a pillar of it. You know what I'm saying? Like respect is a pillar of peace. So if you respect the space, you're good. However, if you don't, you're gonna run into certain things. And so, as not to make it so man-dominated or just human, like we'll just keep it human. Every human needs space.
Right.
However, the things that you accrue in that particular space don't come with accessories. So you need space for the shit that you also have.
Right.
So if you want a TV, you need cables. You need cables to connect it, electricity. You need a space to have it in. You need, you know what I'm saying, a house, et cetera, right?
Right.
Everybody kind of gets that. It's the same shit with DJing. It's the same shit with producing. If you want to do it, you get the gear. That's the starting block. And after that, you have to put in the time, and then you have to go make the relationships. And then if you're really about that life, and this is what got me to leaving my job was, all right, cool. Book yourself 2 to 3 months out, Fridays and Saturdays from this point on. Treat everything like you can, like sales. Cool. I came in here, I presented myself to be this, that, and the third. You like it? Bet. Book me for the next 2 to 3 months. Let's get it on the calendar. Let's get it done and taken care of. I'll get a graphic designer to hurry up and get all that shit taken care of. So it's one less thing that you have to think of.
Right. And that's a great transition into the Bloom section now of where you're at, you know? And talking about space, I think that's a great way to kind of set up this, last piece to where you're at now currently. Building space is important. Creating your own space, identifying with what space you have accumulated, what space you're given. The whole concept of it was written. You have space that's already available to you that you're essentially seeking throughout your journey. And when you're there, you kind of create within that. You build it out bigger and whatnot. So thinking about where you're at now, you mentioned Jamila Woods. You're working exclusively with her. You have a full album coming out with her.
Facts.
Very soon.
May 10th.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Talk that shit. You have 2 singles out right now with that, which are called
Giovanni and Zora.
Yes, they're super fire. Check them out.
Thank you.
But yeah, like how now within everything that you've gone through, with that, everything you've experienced, and you and I having the relationship that we have. I've watched you grow like crazy, man. Like, I mean, we had conversations of DJing when you were first starting with it.
Yeah, when we were doing like Life That Chose, me and Scheme.
Yeah, you were sitting here, I was learning production stuff from you, and we were swapping notes on DJing. Right. And now that you've built this kind of, empire for yourself, right? And you or the foundation of it, at least the vision of it,
Facts.
How do you see yourself moving now in and just the idea of living your truth? Because you were the one that instilled that concept of life in me. And how is that now for you? What does that mean to you?
You want to know what's really interesting? This is on topic but off topic at the same time. The whole live your truth thing, me and my wife have been together, it'll be 11 years.
Okay.
Like just in terms of dating. It'll be 1 year in March. However, you also know that there's like a 9-year difference between like when we actually made it right. When I finally understood the concept of live your truth, you also have to do right by your truth. And when we had been together for so long, just kind of idling by each other, that for some reason, I'm not gonna lie to you, bro, as soon as I got down on one knee, I feel like karma kind of corrected itself. It's really hard to describe, but February of last year was a great but really sad month. We're having her Uncle Pete, which is kind of like my uncle, passes in February. What else, man? January, we got engaged. So there's a lot of things going on, but I'm also kind of learning what I'm stepping into. The person that was like her father figure has died. You also have to make a lot of decisions going forward that make sense not only for you as a creative, as a human being, as somebody who wants to provide for himself, but you also have to make those same decisions right by her. And that kind of changed a lot of things. But I also, in January of last year, got the call from Sherrod, hey, this is something I've been wanting to put together for a long time. I want you and Jamila to work on a project, and I want you to executive produce it. Word.
say less. I was in New York at the time, spinning a couple gigs. I was staying at the homie Gerald Walker's crib.
Yep.
And he just saw me go from like, yeah, that's totally cool, for sure. Yeah, I could do that. And then got off the phone, yeah, like full guttural yells.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like
From within.
primal. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Hell
let's
yeah.
do it.
Hell yeah.
Because and then going through the one getting married and correcting my relationship with my wife, and then going on to like produce this next this project with Jamila was really, really, really big for me.
Yeah.
Because one, it's so much of the time that I spent being a creative, I always invested in men. Always expending myself to other men. And once I really started to invest energy into women, it was like a tide had changed.
Yep.
I met Jamila 3 times, bro.
Right.
I met her through Itchy or Justin Raymond
Yep.
at Rodan. That's just to let you know how long ago I met her.
Shout out to Rodan.
I think we were sitting at the table. It was loud in there. We didn't really necessarily catch a vibe that day. Whatever. Keep it pushing. Next time, we're recording Pray for the Poor for Ad 2. She comes in there. I think it's Young Black Boy. She does a chorus for that. We meet in the studio that day we found a space like on 35th and like Halsted. And we don't catch a vibe that day. We knock out the song though, we get it done. But like we don't really align. Third time Sharad's like, yo, she's gonna come over to your house. You guys are gonna have a powwow, you're gonna have a session. Became friends that day.
Nice.
Same thing happened with Ad, but it was like, all right, cool. That's my whole vibe now. Like once I understood like the power of investing in women, things kind of turned around for me in a lot of different ways. Just one, on a karma end. 2, there's this old like African proverb, like, yo, if you invest in a man, like if you teach a man something, you've taught him something. If you teach a woman something, she teach a whole village.
Yep.
And that's kind of been it for me. Like kind of learning how to work in that space, learning how to like be an ally, but like also really be of support. And so you have all these different things that are getting ready to come up. Like I'm working with a young lady named Ness Heads. She should have a single out by like March, if not before then. But like those, I'm not gonna lie to you, man. Like outside of, you know what I'm saying, partnering up with like certain homies, like you for instance, you know what I'm saying, like, or Castle, it's been women.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, as a man, you kind of learn that shit later on in life. Like, oh man, we're with the bros, we're with the homies, and then you end up finding out like, oh no, like that shit gets cut out after a while. You're not gonna be with the homies. He has needs and wants and shit that unless y'all on that vibe, you can't fulfill. You know what I'm saying? So it's gonna come down to you, the woman in your life, and if you could do it right without being a creep and being a, you know what I'm saying, like you could be a solid individual while you're doing it.
Yeah.
You can really invest in women and not necessarily have it be a thing of like having to ask how to share.
They're like truly the secret sauce.
Yeah.
And like a lot of homies out here don't really know that, but we
but you don't learn that shit till you
get older.
Till you get older.
Yeah, till you wisen up. You know what I'm saying? You get
You know
some
what I'm
gray
saying?
hairs.
Like once you realize like the majority, like a
you
lot
start
of shit
learning
is
some sorcery, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh shit, this is where a lot of it comes from. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Like
For
I
sure.
just feel like once you learn how to do right by women, the rest of the shit kind of clears out by itself.
For sure.
For sure.
So we appreciate you obviously coming out, you know, telling us the story, the background, the foundation, you know, the whole shit. Where can people find you?
Word. Slot.com, SLOT, that's T as in Tom, -A.com. Everything's there. I am Slot pretty much
all social media platforms is where you can find me.
Jamila Woods project dropping
May 10th. It is called Legacy. Make sure you
Giovanni
get
and
that.
Zora are out now.
Facts, and
Get that.
they're super available. So like, please go
Everywhere.
Go take Instagram videos and like play that as a background song, and then show the title at the top. Like,
Yes.
go look out for the kid, man.
Do that.
Quick set of props. The fact that you have a live band like playing your music in that video is like pretty insane to me. So it's like, yo,
Yeah.
like I met you like a year into you like DJing apparently. I think like I met you
Yeah,
at 17, like, a long time ago.
totally.
And
Actually, maybe a little bit before that, like
Yeah, maybe.
elementary.
yeah, it might be
Yeah, that's where I met you. Yeah,
Well,
shout out
regardless,
to
yeah, like,
shout out to
the-
Uncle Roo.
Yeah, just to see you come up like so far and just to see someone else like play your music, it's like, yo. I can't help but be happy, man. So
It's
props.
awesome, man.
Absolutely.
One thing I have learned recently is the difference between of what I thought it was before and what it is now. Like, you want the homies to champion you. And this is kind of like a jewel for like maybe someone out there that's like young that's listening. There's gonna come a time where you're gonna want the homies to champion you, and then like there's gonna be a separate time where you make it completely obvious that they have to. And it's not going to be on anything that you gave them or did for them or sent to them. It's going to be what's put in front of you and them not having a choice other than to support. And so that's kind of what I've saw with like the last 2 records with Jamila, like giving people a reason to be a fan versus wanting people to be a fan.
Yeah, great.
Big. Hey. Yo, make some noise for the homie Slade, y'all. We appreciate him for coming in today.
Sure.
Yeah, I got a mic in my hand. Hold on. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Do it proper. House notes. What do we have? Anything to announce yet?
Nope. Everything is secret.
Yeah.
Well, this podcast isn't going to be out probably until after Dre Day.
So
Most likely.
Yeah.
But everything else we've got is secret, so just stay tuned.
just wait. We're out here.
Just keep waiting.
We appreciate you for coming in. And once again, as always, we appreciate all of our supporters. If you have not hit that subscribe button, please do so. Make sure you share, like, keep listening, tell all your friends. We're out here. Shout out to the whole squad, gang. And that's it.